All right, it's Thursday, March 7th. This is an end of the day SPY recap. And today on the daily chart, we end up with a 2-up green bar. Check out the high the previous day. This is actually a bad tick here. The low of the day was actually right near the high. It gapped up that much. So the bar kind of starts here and goes up. So it's a kind of a gap up. And once we kind of continued higher, it was in effect a broadening action of after this 2-up yesterday. We continued higher and kind of broadened to that target up here. So these three bars were kind of broadening action of this bar after you got the 2 down, 2 up yesterday. Overall, the weekly chart now is green, and if we close green tomorrow, it looks like a little bit of a momentum hammer bar that can continue higher, but we never know what's going to happen on Friday, so let's just see. Maybe it closes a little more neutral. But as the week went on, as it turns out, the expectations of the downside became less and less and less. And this is one of the reasons, I choose to day trade versus swing trade because there's a lot of, things that can happen with economic reports and pre-opening, price action and everything else. You can get gaps up and gaps down all over the place. In this, and then you see kind of where the weekly bar ends up. Now, right out of the gates, early in the week, we failed on day one, came down past the halfway point of that prior week, and it looked like we were going to take out those lows. So if we recall, I was actually pretty bearish on this hammer bar, on this shooter bar here on Monday, and we got the gap down and really moved down. Now, all this had to do to broaden, higher high here, and this was the first target, lower low. We took out 2 targets. So, it was clearly broadening action. And then, given the weekly chart, you saw some other targets down here. You definitely, after this red bar, whether it paused or not first, you definitely expected it to continue, lower to these targets, given the fact it took out the halfway point of the prior week. So I was definitely bearish here at the end of the day. Coming into the week, I was looking for a failure. That looked to be a failure. After this move, I really thought the continuation should occur. But now the last 2 days, little things crept in, today more powerful than yesterday, that kind of, negated that negative view a little bit. First of all, on this day here, we gapped up on Wednesday towards the high of that range. So all of a sudden, you weren't really getting a 2 down below the midpoint of this bar to take out those lows and continue to the target too easily. So, you kind of watched what happened here. It went down a little bit, then it rallied for the 2 up confirmation. And then it had a failure look to it. It's a little bit neutral, but it definitely had the red failure. You still had that overall bias to the downside based on how the week started. You had 2 days to go. So you were kind of expecting, or anticipating, if price action led you there, a 2 down day that would start that move back lower. I actually shot a pre-open video where the pre-market range, 4 hours before trading, was between these 2 blue lines, and yet look where it went. By the time the market opened, the pre-market high was right here. It actually moved up, and now we were opening up we already had a 2 up bar. So all of a sudden, the opening today, that almost completely negated, the push to those lows. Unless we immediately failed and got through the halfway point of that bar, it would have taken a lot of negativity at the open to do that. Instead, on the 15-minute chart, price just had a little, 1 bar down, second bar followed through a little bit, but then closed green, and then by the third bar, you're getting your buy signal for the daily structure, went up, orderly pause, went up again. It took out that high. You could have used that shooter bar as maybe an intraday exit kind of thing, but as it turns out, it just kind of consolidated in here and then made another push up and then came down back into that, to that first push up of the day near that area to close. So, it was the type of thing where on Monday I was very bearish. Remain bearish here. Here I was a little less so, but after that, 2 up red day, it looked like, all right, I'm still looking to the downside. But as soon as you saw the pre-opening range, gap up above the high, you had to kind of change expectations. And as it turns out, it was just this 2 up bar that was in compound fashion continuing up to take out that, especially once you saw that opening price action. At that point, you're looking for that target to be hit. And now we have to see, what happens tomorrow. Do we start below the midpoint of this bar? And maybe it's a higher high, and maybe we start a lower low tomorrow and end the week a little bit neutral, and that makes it tricky to know what to expect for next week. But you have some levels here to monitor. Also, a key thing too was this green line here. That's the open of the month. That's what I've always said is going to be my indication this month of how, what my real bias is one way or the other. For a moment, we had red price action, but then on this day, we never, we stayed green on the monthly chart. And on this day, obviously, we're above that green line all day, with the low here above it. So the monthly chart is still upside. We know we have a strong, strong trend. So in reality, when you have a strong, strong trend, until it changes, until this weekly chart closes and confirms something negative, then, you have to stick with the upside. And that's why these up days, above the midpoint of the prior day were, they were definitely buy opportunities if you wanted to take advantage of those, just given the overall trend. And we were kind of anticipating we might get a broadening action down here. And then at that point, if it closed red, we would have seen what to expect for next week. But so there's been no real weekly chart, over this whole period of time that's really forecasted anything lower. But after that Monday move and Tuesday, you thought maybe it was developing. But as it turns out, with one day to go in the week, it doesn't look like this is going to be a negative weekly bar either. So, it's not like anything really changed to the upside here. You were just kind of expecting this might be the start of it, but price action said no. So I just wanted to go over that, the whole concept of expectations, but how you have to be flexible, and of course, how you have to allow price action to lead the way, each and every day. So we will see what happens tomorrow on Friday. But for now, the uptrend stays strong.